Games in this podcast range from E to M.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast, the only podcast that comes to you from inside Xbox. We're into July, and I know that's generally known as like kind of a slow period for games. Not this July. No. Not July of 2024. This is an amazing period for games on Xbox, especially on Game Pass. There is so much to play, and we're going to be talking to the people who make those games this week. We have coming up on the show interviews with people who make Flintlock, as well as EA Sports College Football. And then we're going to talk tech a little bit because the follow-up to my favorite handheld PC is coming up. And so we're going to talk to a podcaster about the Asus ROG Ally X. I'm going to have to ask him first thing. Is it Asus ROG? Is it ROG? Because
how do you say that?
How do you say that? Because I don't know. And also, by the way, we're going to be unboxing later on the most curvaceous of all controllers that have ever been made. The special Deadpool and Wolverine controllers that you might have seen out there.
I have
Deadpool is in the building, in controller form, and we'll be unboxing that later.
Never been so excited to get my hands on something.
Okay, that's sort of a creepy sort of gesture, Wonder, but
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wonder Stormbreaker, welcome to the show for the first time.
Thank you.
You came in from downtown Seattle. You are
I actually came slogged here all the way from West Seattle. Even further
of West
the
Seattle.
island. Yes.
That's some local geography.
There were some zip lines involved, a waterfall. I had to fight off an orca.
You got to get
great
on the way home.
Considering you fought an orca.
Yeah, I just rolled down the sunroof.
Yeah.
So you're the head of studio marketing at Undead Labs, which is based here in Seattle.
Here in Seattle, we are in Pioneer Square. Mm-hmm.
That's where Jebediah Springfield first planted his flag. I
He
think.
said, "Here's where we will build," and then it all, kind of washed away.
And then there was a fire,
Yeah.
and then some of that's underground, and now you make video games there. So
that's right.
It all works out.
Yada, yada, yada. And now we make video games
That's
there.
the history of Seattle in a nutshell, folks.
Yes.
There we go. And then Kelly Lombardi, welcome back to the show. I haven't seen you in a little bit.
It's so good to be here.
It is good to have you here. You are the head of marketing for Rare for Sea of Thieves.
Yes. Big week for Sea of Thieves. We have a season launching this week. So, very excited. Season 13. Flameheart's back. So, been busy with that, but very excited to be here, be part of the pod again.
Awesome. You also have that ship that breathes fire, right? The giant ship.
So, if I can nerd out about it for
please
a second. So, for the first time, you'll be able to battle Flameheart's ship, and you can either pledge your allegiance to the good or evil side. On the good side, you actually take down his ship and reap the rewards. But if you pledge to become part of his crew, you commandeer the ship and sail it for yourself. And the longer you're on the ship, the more rewards that you get. You can go solve different puzzles at these constellation islands that you get access to in these skeleton camps. So, it's really cool. And all of that to say, there's also a giant flamethrower on the front. So I'm not sure why you would choose to be on the good side.
I'll ask you in like a month. Like, what were the numbers? 95%, huh?
Yeah. Who doesn't want to captain a ship that has a giant flamethrower on it?
Yeah.
So, exciting times in the world of Sea of Thieves.
All right. And it's exciting times really for Xbox players. Like I said, historically, if I put on my spectacles and think back to the history of gaming, July has generally been a pretty quiet time. It's a great time to catch up on your backlog. Not this year.
This is a hot July.
It is. It is very much so. So I know we're all playing games that have come out in the last 2 weeks or so. Yeah. And we have eye contact here, Wonder.
It means it's on.
You're in trouble. The Irish Sauron is here. You've been playing a couple of games that actually recently went into Game Pass. So why don't you tell us about them?
The one I just finished. I love a cozy casual game. And so I'm a huge fan of the outdoors. And so actually when Jeff and I were talking, sidebarring, he was like, well, what games are you playing? And I was like, I am playing hiking. Have you heard of this game? It is cooperative. It's
Touch
very
grass. It's a walking simulator.
Yes, exactly.
Not a simulator.
You will get some dirt on you.
Amazing.
And I have been doing tons of hiking this year, and he recommended this game called A Short Hike. And I was like, relevant to my interests.
Oh, and it's so cute.
It's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
So I started playing it on an afternoon. The whole day flew by. I played through the whole game that day, and I I enjoyed it so much. It's so charming, the art style, and I love being able to explore. I'm not fully a completionist, but I loved the little side quests here and there. And then without getting spoilers, like there's a little setup in the beginning, and then you know, kind of the whole point is you need to climb to the top of this mountain. And it's, you know, it has a little puzzle like, oh, how do I get up there? And it was a little bit difficult. And when by the time I got to the top, there's a payoff. And I've fully had this emotional moment where I was like, ooh, and it made me want to call my mom. I'm not kidding. It was so beautiful. I was really impressed, and it's just like one of those games that just makes you think about, it's just like, how do you make a game that brings so much connection in a single player game, right? That connects you so deeply and like pulls on your heartstrings in just like those couple hours that you just spent. Yeah, in just a short hike. And did I take pictures along the way? Yes. I did. Yeah.
It seems a lot better than regular hiking, where I go on a short hike and I'm like, I've got the bites to show for it.
I did not have any knee pain afterwards, so I love that for me.
So that a short hike is available on Game Pass. Apparently it tugs at the heartstrings. If you like that, if you like climbing and heartstrings, I will say you should check out Jusant. This is a game that came out Jusant, apparently, you know, French.
That's very fun to say.
Maybe I'm just like leaning a little bit hard into the into the accent.
Why wouldn't you?
It's probably like Jusant or something like that. Another game built around climbing. Probably a heck of a lot different, but it debuted in a Game Pass, I want to say last fall. One of my favorite games of last year.
I'll check it
I'm
out.
putting that on your list.
Okay, yes, please.
It's really fun. I have played both and can confirm. I think that you'll like it. Like unraveling the story as you climb higher. And it is very similar to a short hike where like in a short hike, they were like, well, you can't go there yet. And I was like, I'm on it. Like I wanted to keep going. Jusant was the same way where I was like, oh, you can't go up there yet?
Is there any way to get through the caves? Is there a way? That's the only thing I could not figure out on a short hike. Is there's like a cave that I kept going in, and it was like the way is blocked, and I used pickaxe, and I was trying to.
Well, good on you for not immediately going to YouTube or something to look that up, because my tolerance.
I'm not saying that I didn't go to YouTube. I'm just saying I didn't immediately go there.
Okay.
And you've also been checking out a game that I have downloaded that I've been wanting to jump into, which is Chia.
I think that's just said Chia, but it's all in the language of the people in, I believe, New Caledonia.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I've spent a very small amount of time in French Polynesia, and it just brought that back. It's so warm, and the community feeling of the island is just really beautiful and lovely. And so it kind of starts there. I'm just very early into it, probably just into toward the end of the tutorial phase, where I don't think this is giving anything away, but you've kind of like been exploring and playing around, and then this basically who you know you're gonna have to deal with comes and like kidnaps your father, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to grow up really fast. But he's shown me these couple things, so I've got a slingshot. I know I can like call out and make things appear on a map. I'm playing my ukulele with my friend here who's got the boat. So I'm having a really fun time with it. The music is beautiful. The sound of the language is beautiful, and it's all recorded by people who live there.
Oh, cool.
Which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it's
So
an
I'm
open
just
world
getting
game, right?
started. Say that.
It's an open world game, right?
It will be. Right now, I'm kind of like, they're kind of funneling me
through,
there.
yeah.
So, but there is like the exploration in like the little sandbox that I've been. So I'm about to kind of go out into the world and rescue Dad.
Big day.
So it kind of gives me, if you like Moana, it's giving me big Moana vibes. And I'm excited to keep playing that. I really like it.
Very good.
That sounds fun. I want to check that out.
Yes, but you've got something first.
I'm busy.
I enforce you must finish a game before starting another game.
Yeah,
I'm the worst
booked
at
and
that.
busy.
Yes.
I've been playing Dungeons of Hinterberg, and I last night was like, you know what? Just launched into Game Pass. Let me try it out. It looks right up my alley. Yeah, 5 dungeons later, it's like 1 a.m. I have a meeting in 6 hours, and I'm like, can I do one more dungeon?
Just one more.
I had so much fun with it. I was one of those like, I hadn't read up a lot about it. I know you did a great interview, or you had a great interview
couple weeks
on the
ago.
pod.
Yeah. Joe Screbbles.
But I didn't want any spoilers, so I was like, oh, okay, I like to go into things blind. And so I went in and I just fell in love. Like, I was just like, I want to play a little bit more. And the way it's set up is like, you go to this town and it's known for its magic, and it has these dungeons that you go and conquer, and you're called slayers. So people basically, like, it's a tourism town where the tourism is slaying monsters.
Adventurers.
Yeah. And so you play as a character that's taking a break from her city job, and
You're just like drifting in it. I want that.
I
want a week off.
my gosh.
I want to go to there.
Yes,
Kill
absolutely.
some kobolds.
Yeah, and
you
she's
know?
just like, yeah.
Stein and a sword. Where do we sign up?
And she's like, the whole time talking about it, she's like, and I have this like corporate career and I love it, but I feel like I haven't stopped to like smell the roses in so long, and I was just in such need of a break and to find myself. And I'm like, yeah, I love this.
What's the main character's name? Kelly?
I was like-
Louisa.
I was like, they know me, they understand me. And now I want to go to a small European town and go slay monsters. So maybe on my way to Gamescom, I
There
will
you go.
make a pit
I think
stop.
you can do a layover in Introvert.
Yeah. But it's really great. You can check it out. It reminds me of Persona a little bit, where you
Yes.
play like a day at a time. And so the things that you choose to put your time into will progress your character's stats. And each activity that you do progresses the day forward. And so depending on what skills you want to up and what you want to improve on, what people you want to befriend in the town, there's a bunch of different stuff to do. And so it's adorable. And I can't wait to stop recording with you guys so I can go home and play more.
All right. So while you were up at 1 a.m. delving into yet one more dungeon, I was also up at 1 a.m. The bags under these eyes are brought to you by Kanitsugami, Path of the Goddess, which I beat last night. This is a game that,
Congrats.
thank you very much, 20 hours and 6-minute playtime.
Okay.
A little longer than most people because I had to rebuild every village because I had to.
Good job.
You don't actually have to. So I think most people are beating in about 15 hours. This is a game that came, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere because we saw it in our showcase, our Xbox Game Showcase 2023, I want to say. And this was a game where you saw like people dancing and people wearing masks and like yokai, and everyone was like, that looks really cool. What is that? And we had to wait a little while to find out what it was, but a lot of us got to play. Those who went to Summer Game Fest, the Play Days, in June. I finally got to try it. I got to meet a few of the developers, wrote about that on Xbox Wire, news.xbox.com, plug. Thank you. They pay me by the view. And no, that would be great. But quick rundown on what this game is. Basically, this mountain has been like defiled, and it's just like filled with like you gotta hate defilement in general.
Especially when you hiking, a
Exactly.
defiled mountain really ruins it forever.
Very, very different than a short hike.
Yeah.
It's a somewhat longer hike through defilement. So you are basically escorting this goddess to purify the mountain. And so like there's almost elements that I enjoy, like of Super Mario Sunshine or the Gunk. Like if you like cleaning up messes, like virtual messes, because real messes in my house is like not. I'd rather clean up the virtual messes, and so there's a bit of that, but you're able to control in real time. So you're basically purifying and rescuing villagers during the day, but that sun you can see it moving quickly because at nighttime. These torii gates are going to open up and monsters are going to stream out and they're going to try to take down the goddess. And they are like some pretty disturbing monsters, some of which, again, are based on yokai and other sort of Japanese folklore, and they are really gross. They do a really good job, so you want to protect the goddess from like these horrible things that are like all mouth or tentacles or spider, some pretty nasty stuff.
Oh man, those are awesome monsters.
Yeah. But when you make it to the day and you've survived a night, like literally everyone, like all the villagers that have survived are cheering and you're happy, and then you make it all the way through to the torii gate, you purify that village, you rebuild the village, and you move on to the next area. There's so much to this game, and it's got a really good loop, but then they continually add a little bit more. Like, what if we did this on a ship? And the sort of the seethe, which is what these enemies are called, are trying to sink the ship. Or what if there was a mission where all the villagers are mysteriously gone and you've got to protect the goddess by yourself? Yeah. So it's a combination of strategy and action. A lot of folks are referring to this as like having tower defense elements, and I kind of get that, but I don't want people to be turned off going like, oh, I don't like tower defense games, because this is not like any tower defense game you've ever played. It's very much more than the sum
Just
of its
because
parts.
you're in a village isn't,
Yeah, and you do position the villagers in different places, and they have different abilities, so I can see where you would get that sort of analogy.
But it's more of like the overall strategy of like, okay, this is the circumstances I'm dealing with, but still racing the clock with the sun here.
Exactly, and you can do a ton yourself. Like, you are a really powerful warrior who can do a lot of things. So sometimes I'll put all the villagers over here. I'm like, you're going to protect, the goddess's flank over here. I'm just going to one person army over here and sort of take it, take responsibility here. But it gets really frantic and really fun. Anyway, highly recommend. Now that I finished it, top 5 game of the year for me so far.
That's awesome.
Like, no question. It's been an amazing run. So anyway,
High praise. Yeah.
Look, I recommend things is what I do. Take it or leave it, but you should take it. Yeah.
I'm sold. I'm
Well,
gonna check
good.
it out.
Good. You really should.
After Dungeons of Hinterberg.
One thing at a time. So that's actually, we'll switch places because I'm going into Dungeons of Hinterberg
perfect.
next.
Yeah.
But that's not all when it comes to Game Pass. So every game that we mentioned is in Game Pass. Most of them that have appeared this month. But plenty more to come, because actually Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, one of the biggest games of the last year, is available now as part of your Game Pass subscription for console and PC. So if you've got PC Game Pass, if you've got console Game Pass, you got Game Pass Ultimate. It is the first Call of Duty to be on Game Pass.
Quite a moment.
It brings out, so obviously millions of people have been playing the game, but now millions more have access to it. And it times out really well with Season 5. So lots of new content that comes in all the time. And they've added some new maps. They've actually added in some WWE superstars, which people, it's a good crossover here. So I wrote it down. Rey Mysterio, like from like the old days.
Mysterio.
He did some of the most like amazing stuff
love
in the
it.
ring. Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley are in their game. There's a new map that is actually 2 new maps, including one that takes place on a dockside on a hot Florida day. Just reminded me of my high school years. So, but minus the, Call of Duty.
Not being
and
in
action
school,
and all
that's
that
what
stuff.
I-
Basically
that's what I
skipping
heard
school and
from
going to
that,
the beach.
Summer skip.
I saw that.
I approve.
And it just took me all the way back there. So, all right. So anyway, that's available now on Game Pass. Check it out if you haven't. There's a ton to it. There's obviously campaign. There's multiplayer. There's zombies. It's got, basically everything that you would expect from a Modern Warfare game. And then, of course, Black Ops 6 will be in Game Pass when it comes out this fall. And I also recently went back and played Black Ops Cold War, because that was really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of the same characters we'll be seeing coming up.
Good to know. Maybe,
right.
or I'll put it on the list after. My list is growing by the
that's
by
the
the
thing. I
moment
told
with
you.
this
What
podcast.
happens? That's what happens in here. This room is
So much.
dangerous.
There's so much. Yeah, I'm going to give you more things to play than you can possibly think of. Actually, a couple of other games that have come out this week. Nobody Wants to Die. This is a really cool looking game made by a team in Poland. It's a narrative game taking place in New York in the year 2329. Immortality comes at a price that someone must pay. So following a near-death experience, Detective James Cara takes an off-the-books case with the help of a young police liaison named Sarah Kai to assist him. Time reveals all as they risk everything in pursuit of a killer, uncovering the dark secrets of the city's elite. So this is made by Critical Hit Games in Poland. They're pushing the boundaries of storytelling. They're combining some really cool photorealistic graphics. This is what caught my attention. We had a great story on Xbox Wire out this week that they wrote, and we're taking a look. This might be one that catches your attention, especially if you're liking the video that you're seeing here.
Yeah.
Also available now. F1 Manager 2024 came out earlier this week. For the first time in the series, you can create your own team to challenge the grid, and you can customize everything: the setup, livery design, logo, racing suits. You recruit your staff, you negotiate with sponsors, all the stuff that you would expect from a management game, and then you get to watch the races play out in broadcast quality presentation. Also, in the last week, college football has returned with EA Sports College Football 2025. This has been a huge game. This has been like a landmark game because we haven't had a college football game in a really long time. And it's really cool to have it back. One of the things I've noted, I used to live in Orlando. The game is made in near Orlando by EA Tiburon. And man, they nailed the details. And it was one of those things where, like, as a Florida Gator fan, someone who went there, like little signs that would be in the stadium, in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, or other things that they would do, like leading into the game, like Mr. Two. They would get all of those things right.
Nice.
And then in talking to other fans, no, they're getting the things right in Michigan and out in the West and in the Big Ten and all these other places. It wasn't just like just because they were close to
So
Florida.
important to get like the feel of it.
Exactly.
Because it's a culture, right? Like every team
Right.
has their mascot, their traditions, their like signs, their sayings. And so, yeah, to be a part of a college game day is so different than any other
Exactly.
experience. So that's awesome.
So with more on that, we actually got to speak to some of the developers. Rob Jones, the senior production director of EA Sports College Football, spent some time with our own Malik Prince to hype us up for this season.
Close your eyes and take yourself back to where you were on February 2nd, 2021, when a single tweet confirmed that EA Sports was bringing back college football. Then fast forward to this year when they confirmed that, yeah, it's really happening. And now fans around the world are excited for the return of college football 25. And so let's talk about it. Here with me to do that is a Michigan alum. His career comprises of over 30 years of development in the sports genre. We're talking about the senior production director of EA Sports College Football. It is Rob Jones. Rob, how's it going today?
It's going great. It's a pretty exciting time for us these days. So just really happy to be here and be able to share some stuff with y'all.
What are you feeling? Are you feeling nerves? Are you feeling like excitement? Like, I can't imagine. I've never shipped a game, and so I can't imagine what that feels like. Can you explain how you're feeling?
Well, you know what is interesting? Like you said, I've been in this for about 30 years. I've done a lot of big games from Madden to NBA 2K, college hoops at a certain point in time. But nothing really is kind of as exciting as what we're doing right now. When you really think about this, bringing something back that is been away for a really, really long time and has had such a clamor for its return is a little bit different of a beast than other games that I may have done in the past. It's like, like you said, like we tweeted in 2021, we're coming out in 2024, you're looking at it and it's like, hey, did we do enough? Will they receive it the way that we feel we've actually executed against our plan? We just can't wait to get it in people's hands so that we can see how well they received and how well they feel about the love that we've put into the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is anecdotal, but I feel like just online and on social media, the excitement for this is, as you were saying, like it is not just a game release. It's not just a sports release. This is something that makes it and takes it to a new level. But I want to start top level. All right. So for fans who may have just been finding out, maybe they were living under a rock, they're just finding out that college football 25 is back. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means, what the game is, and what you all are trying to achieve?
Well, like you can see behind me, as a Michigan alum, I mean, I come and I actually represent my colors every single day. We really just believe that people who are fans of college football are part of a community, right? And it goes great. It's a kind of a greater than fandom. It's more like, hey, it's me, right? So when those teams go out on Saturdays, they're actually representing me. They're representing the students that went there, and they kind of just it's almost like a second skin that we carry. So I think at the deepest level, we aimed to represent faithfully every single school, every single team from a football perspective. Obviously, we're a video game and we wanted, we're an American football video game, so that had to be represented faithfully. But at the core, what we wanted to do was really tap into that emotion, that community, that feeling that hey, you know what? They get me and they get what I feel about my school, right? And then, we had like three main pillars, authentic football, authentic and explosive college football gameplay. We had the authentic sight, sounds, and traditions of college football. And our third pillar was deliver really deep, connected, emotional experiences, being a coach and taking over a program and doing everything from recruiting to coaching on game day and dealing with student athletes in every different kind of way, to things like, hey, I want to get recruited and I want to go to my school and I want to kind of show my legacy in a light road to glory. So delivering those three pillars was at the foundational place that we started. But the most important one is represent each school as if it's your own favorite. So the motto of the team was, every school is someone's favorite. and we didn't want to leave anyone behind. And that's the kind of like the main component of everything that we did.
Yeah, and I think you all nailed it. When you all decided that you wanted to tackle this game, what was the feeling? Was there a certain level of pressure, and what was needed to bring that to life? Because, like as you said, you wanted to build an authentic game.
So I think two components we'll talk about. Like, so the first one was getting the right people together, and that meant skill and passion married together. One of the best things about this is that when I got here, that was kind of one of the first things that I was asked as I was hired. And I said, hey, right people in the right seat will deliver the greatest things. They'll deliver magic. So, I started by grabbing a couple of folks that had actually done the last NCAA, right? Way back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
the one that people are still playing with their modded Xboxes and different things, right? It was grabbing those folks and saying, hey, you know what? We want you back onto this team because we know you have this particular passion and you know what it takes to do this. We also went out into our community and grabbed some newcomers, people who had actually worked on some of those PC mods for college football. And so like, hey, if you have skilled people who are just doing this for free, I guarantee you that they'll bring that passion into this team and kind of infuse us with what we need in order to deliver at the highest quality. We decided that we wanted to build inside out. And what we mean by that is, what's the most important thing? Well, the most important thing is Saturday game day for all of us, right? So we start there, and then everything else is kind of built from there. And then it went to, hey, how do we get every single little detail in terms of things that they do on Saturdays, right? Or their mascots. How do their mascots act and all those other things? And how do you bring that all together into one single product? And that's kind of the genesis of what we did.
That must have been a huge undertaking. Can you tell us a little bit about what all is a part of the iconic atmospheres and how you built that?
Well, look at it from multiple angles, right? One of the things that we're really, really proud of is the fact that we were able to bring in all these players onto the roster for the first time. The excitement around the comeback of the game, we were just overwhelmed by how many players decided that they actually wanted to be part of it. But it heightens that experience, right? It makes you feel like, hey, you know what? This is not just real; it's tangible. But on top of that, one of the things that we really spend a lot of time is cataloging all the traditions for these schools. We had people sitting in forums, like they'd sit in a Terps forum, just picking up on all the nuances of things that you all do on Saturdays at game day, so that we could bring that into the experience. From what are the stripe outs, where do the fans sit, where are the runouts and how do they look, what does the mascot actually do when they're performing, because every mascot it isn't the same, and then just bringing all those little pieces together was just super, super important. A rivalry game is different than a regular game. Those moments when people come in and they're like, wait, I didn't know that they got that. One of the things here at UCF, there's a rocket ship that launches in the background that happens every once in a while, and because we're right here and people know that, it happens. It doesn't happen every time you play, but when you see it, you're like, I can't believe they got that detail too. And that's how important these things were to us. But, again, it was just a labor of, I like to keep thinking as it's a labor of love to kind of just bring that detail to all 134 schools, soon to be 136 in the coming year.
Oh, so impressive. Going back to what you said a little bit early on, it is not just a game. It is, that atmosphere is built by, students who are, they're learning who they are as human beings at the time of these games. They're hanging with their friends, some that they'll be lifelong friends with. They're learning the traditions of their school as they come in as freshmen. It's all of those things that you kind of, again, like you put it together and it builds this incredible atmosphere. And then for you all, as you were talking about, to go in and kind of analyze each individual thing and try to get it as close as possible to the real thing. it just got me so excited. Another thing that I did watch was Dynasty Mode, just from the recruiting to the small things like players that you want to recruit and how close they are to home, affecting whether or not they decide to come to your school. Can you give us a quick deep dive into what Dynasty Mode is and what players can expect?
I find the two words "quick" and "deep dive"
A
kind
little,
of
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
but,
yeah.
like let me
We'll
help
see.
you out
Yeah,
here.
we'll see.
So, obviously, Dynasty was always at the heart of the deep experiences. I mean, the moment you look at your team and it's not doing well enough, you start thinking, hey, if I took it over, I could do better, right? And so, starting at the top, creating yourself as a coach, finding out what you are good at, choosing what what you want to excel at. Do I want to be a recruiter? Do I want to be a motivator? Do I want to be a tactician? And every one of those different skill sets gives you a little bit of an advantage over other people. And then you choose the school that you're going to. And those schools have a certain number of characteristics that recruits care about, right? It's like, hey, what is my exposure? How many things can you do to help me go pro, right? Or, hey, do I have great facilities? Or, am I close to home, like you just said? All of those things mean something to our recruits, and they factor into how they receive your scouting and your pitches and your overtures about coming to that particular school, right? So, when you add up your abilities, you add up what that recruit is actually looking for, and then you add up what your school can offer that recruit along the way, because nowadays so much power is actually in the recruit, especially given that with the transfer portal, if things don't go your way, you can literally just walk out and choose to go somewhere else and find your fortune at a different school. So managing all of those things becomes a way deeper thing than ever before. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we captured is all the changes that have happened in the landscape of college football since we were last in the market. So, when you look at things, the ability to, you're seeing all the realignment with the Big Ten adding so many schools out, the Pac-12 almost no longer being in existence, and everything that's happening, we needed to make sure that we captured all those things. So, a lot of people say, hey, you know what? In our game will be the first time you can play the 12-team playoff. And the new 12-team playoff actually debuts in December in real life, but you can play it in our game right now, right? Being able to customize your conferences. The recruiting is way deeper than it's ever been before, and it's kind of a 3-stage thing that we love. And then the coaching carousel and all the little mini things that make just running a program so important. And eventually it's like, hey, can I move to a bigger program, and all these other things that you want to do. We just wanted to make sure that it was as accurate and as deep as people remembered and expected.
This has been awesome, Rob. But before we go, any last words for the fans, the players out there who have been waiting so patiently for the past decade for the return of college football that you want to kind of tell them?
What I really want to tell them is that the moment they pick this game up from the inception of hitting that button, getting the start, and that first time they get to play with their favorite team, they'll immediately know how much love we've put into it and how much a painstaking detail we went through to deliver an experience that they wanted. The gameplay feels fresh. It's different. It's faster. It's explosive. Just like you would expect college football games to be. The features are deep. They're well thought out. They're everything that we thought that they actually more than we actually thought we'd put in. It's kind of funny. When you're in it for as long as we've been in it, you kind of start getting lost in the weeds, and then you take that step back and you get to actually appreciate what you've done. And that's where we are right now. And we're just hoping, and we're just excited for everyone to get that into their hands, play it, and just, give us any feedback, because as a team, we're passionate about college football. We're passionate about the video games, and we just want to ensure that we're delivering the best experience that EA Sports can give.
Rob, this has been fantastic. I'm sure, like myself, everyone out there is excited to jump into EA Sports College Football 25. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Senior Production Director Rob Jones, for joining us. And give the team our well wishes, by the way.
No, thank you. It was amazing being here. I really appreciate y'all having me. And, like I said, enjoy the game. It's been fun for us. I hope it's fun for you all.
Go Terps. Go Terps.
Nah, go blue. Go blue here.
There we go.
It's always go blue.
We'll settle it in the game. Thanks so much, Rob.
For sure.
All right, Rob, Malik, thank you so much. Looking forward to getting into this game this weekend now that I've cleared off a little bit of time. But I was always a big college football fan, so those are, I'm just, so many of my friends are playing it right now as well, and I'm seeing a lot of highlights, a lot of stuff on social, so very excited for that. Had a really interesting conversation with someone new on our team, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I play a lot of games." I'm like, "Cool, what are you into?" And she's like, "I'm obsessed with The Sims." And this one's for her because out today, Love is in the Air with The Sims 4, the Cupid's Corner dating app where you plan fun dates and discover what makes Sims swoon in the Love Struck expansion pack. You get on Cupid's Corner, you plan dates, you do fun stuff. Once you've matched with the sim you'd like to spend time with, you start planning your date. You choose the location, you choose which activities you'd like to try together, and Becca can just tell me, my coworker, all about that because I have not really played a lot of The Sims.
Can I tell you, I have a few friends that love The Sims and are all about it. It's too difficult for me.
How's that?
Like, I spent so much time customizing my sim because the customization is so good and so deep. So I spent all of this time. I was like, oh, she's like amazing. She looks so cool. And then I built a house from scratch rather than buying one because I was like, oh, it's going to be perfection. So then I like had the house and I'm finally getting like a handle on the controls and I load in and then my sim's like, I'm hungry. So I was like, okay, cook something. Like, I don't know. And she burned her freaking house down. and like
Rude.
I spent all that time and then she just burned the house down and then she was like not smart enough to get out of the house. So she also burned down. And I was just like, what is this game?
Sounds like user error.
Okay, maybe, but like I always thought it was funny. Well, not funny, but like I've run into people
funny.
that are like, oh, you play The Sims? That's not even a real game. I'm like, joke's on you. The Sims is too difficult for me. Like I can't even play that because I spent all that time. It all burned down within seconds of like
Ungrateful
joining.
creations.
Yeah, I was like,
So you're saying the Love Struck expansion pack is like, let's just get like the Live Through the Night pack.
yes.
Live through
If I could get the survival pack.
Cooking 101, intro to cooking pack.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have a good segue here. We're going to talk about the Xbox 360 store because guess what? You're into the last week before the Xbox 360 store closes down. What does that mean for you? Well, that means you can get over 150 Xbox 360 games at a discounted price. Batman Arkham City, one of my favorites of all time. $4.99. If you haven't played it, you got to get it. Get it for your library. Devil May Cry HD collection. There was a good Mortal Kombat arcade collection. All these games are 70, 80, 90% off. A lot of great deals. You can head over to Xbox Wire. We have it right there pinned at the top. Full list of the games that are on sale. It's also a brand new Xbox dynamic background featuring the blades from the Xbox 360 era. People love the blades.
They do.
It's very, very nostalgic.
Yeah.
You know, it was probably the height of
iconic.
UX back in 2005. And to help celebrate, the Xbox Gear Store also bringing back some Xbox 360 merch for a limited time. I would show you, but I already took it.
That's
it was a really
fun.
cool live shirt.
I like
yeah,
that.
it was cool. It looked like the back of the box from like when you bought an Xbox 360 console. Anyway, I had it. It's gone. It wasn't a fit. It was the wrong size for you. It was perfect for me. All right, another game that everyone is playing right now, and which I need to clear off sometime. I've gotten a couple hours in, but I want to finish. I want to take it all the way. Is Flintlock. So this is a game that is made by A44 Games, Flintlock Siege of Dawn. They're calling it a Souls Light. So if Souls likes are a little bit challenging, which they are a lot challenging actually.
hear,
There are things
still
that you
going
can
to
do
die.
to make these. You can make this one a little bit easier. There's a difficulty setting. I will tell you, still pretty demanding at certain times, which you want. You want that challenge, but if you don't want that challenge, you can turn that off. And I think there might even be like an invincibility or things you can do if you just want to see the story. I appreciate that level of flexibility. You're going to find out a bunch more about this game, however, as our good friend Ethan met up with Simon Desan from A44 Games down in New Zealand. Let's find out what they have to share about the game.
Folks, I am here with Simon Desan, creative director at A44 Games from New Zealand, debuting their first game back in 2018, Ashen. I was a big fan of that one. I know some of you might have been as well, and I'm kind of falling in love with Flintlock Siege of Dawn. Simon, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Ethan. Yeah, really good. It's a bleak winter's day down here in New Zealand, so what a perfect time to launch a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's stuck inside, hours upon hours of time on their hands. It's a great time to launch it. I imagine that a lot of folks, they may have seen the game at Xbox Showcase, which it was featured there alongside so many other titles. But for folks maybe in the dark, could you give them a little overview about the game?
Yeah, sure. So, Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn is an action Souls-light game based in a Flintlock fantasy setting. You play as Nor Vanek, who is on a quest to close the door to the great below and seal away the gods once and for all.
I love that. That's a great setup. Not just a little bit at stake, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, back in 2018 when Ashen came out, I was a fan of that game as well. Played a lot with my wife, and we're both very excited for this title. Could you take us through maybe some of the similarities and differences between your titles?
Yeah, sure. So I know, like on the surface, they look visually quite different, but there are actually quite a few things with Flintlock that relate to Ashen. Quite a few things that we've taken forward. So things like the rhythmic combat, which we've evolved and expanded upon. Players really love the sort of evolving town in Ashen, and so we've taken that and kind of expanded it into the caravan system where throughout the game, you'll be bringing on board like your band of sappers, and your caravan will kind of travel with you and grow over time as you progress through the game. And of course, we've kept our New Zealand native like flora and fauna throughout the game as well. So we take a lot of inspiration from our home country in New Zealand and kind of like infuse it through the game, just like we did with Ashen as well.
Oh, that's fascinating. I actually didn't realize that. I mean, I've never been to New Zealand, but that's like a nice touch, a little bit of home in your game. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We've gone like the next step in Flintlock, and we've taken a lot of things. So like we use like native New Zealand plants, and we've even brought back a few sort of extinct animals from sort of New Zealand's history as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That is cool. Well, I want to talk a little bit about inspiration. Obviously, your home country being part of it, but I love immediately when you're dropped into this game, and I'm only a few hours in. I mean, I was just blown away by this setting. I think you said in another interview, this like Flintlock fantasy, but there's aspects of almost like World War I or the Napoleonic Wars, where you're seeing these sappers operating and digging the trenches, the cannon teams firing in this siege that's taking place, like. I just think you guys have blended an action RPG with the Souls-like elements, and it works so well. Could you walk us through some of that thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, like we knew that we wanted to make like a really accessible Souls Light experience, and so for us, really that meant taking the things that people know and love from the Souls genre, so that rhythmic combat and sort of like a more uncompromising game, and sort of blending it with things that people know and love from more standard like action RPGs, right? So we've infused the game with things like rapid mobility, as well as like cool finisher moves, so like a lot of glory kills and ultimate abilities as well. And so the fusion there, hopefully, like what we wanted to achieve was to create something that didn't really alienate true like Souls players, but really gave people like a nice gateway into this genre. And I think what we've ended up with is something more wholly unique, which is really great.
Yeah, most definitely. I like that you talk about kind of mobility and some of the executions, because immediately I really resonate with how fluid combat feels. It's very responsive. Your first like zoom in, that cinematic camera when you kind of hit the counter and then attack with the heavy attack, like immediately it just feels epic and just again very responsive. So I love that you guys are thinking of it about these things. I think you really kind of nailed it. There are a lot of characters. Like I said, I've had the opportunity to play, and I'm kind of falling in love with a lot of the characters. There's a lot of gods and people alike to kind of fall in love with, and as the creative director, I'd love to ask you about a few of them if you don't mind. Kicking things off with Enki, because I love this fox-like character that that Nor hangs around with. Tell us a little bit about Enki.
One of the core pillars of the game was gods and guns, right? And so we have this flintlock fantasy setting where Nor obviously represents the guns, and Enki is your kind of like throughout the game your representation of the gods. And so obviously Enki is a god, and he's with you effectively right from the start of the game. And as you go through, you'll come to know a lot more about like his character, his relationship with the other gods, but as well like the tension between both Nor and Enki, because mankind and the gods don't really get along, and so like as their relationship grows over the game, it's something that like I'm really really keen for the players to kind of like go through and discover.
Yeah, I mean, it's really apparent right from the get-go, for sure, that there's just a little bit of friction there to talk about. As a caffeine addict, I gotta shout out the coffee shop mechanic, and not only that, but the first time I met the host, almost physically recoiled in my chair. Not for any reason, they're not ugly per se, but I definitely was like not expecting it, I suppose.
Yeah.
That shout out to whoever developed that character. I had to just get that in there. I have no real follow-up question other than I love it.
Oh no, thank you. And Wellington is really known for our coffee scene, so we knew that we had to work that into the game. We all like are fiends for our coffee down here, and so yeah, like having the coffee shop was something that was found really, really early on, and the hosts have been something that we worked on for quite some time as well. And so, just like a little Easter egg for you as well, the coffee shop hosts actually talk through sign language as well. So like you can go into the coffee shop and maybe fire off your gun and kind of see what happens.
Oh, okay. That's a hot tip. I'm gonna literally get off this interview and do that.
Yep,
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, similar to that, I mean, two things. One, we in Seattle, we love our coffee. We're fiends for it too. So I'm immediately resonating with this conversation. But I am curious in that, as that was my favorite aspect of, or maybe my favorite surprise that I found in the game thus far. What are aspects of Flintlock that you are most proud of?
I think honestly, like how the combat has come together, which is a pretty broad thing to say, but like it was a big thing that we bit off, trying to make this genre accessible, and so we also added quite a few things into the game. Like obviously you have like the skill tree, but we have like a ton of different weapons, and every single weapon has like unique modifiers on it, as well as our armor system, which can completely change how combat works. So really we wanted like player freedom, so players can find the way that they really enjoy playing, and so I'm really really happy with like the balance that we struck there. And I think as well, obviously the mobility is like a massive thing in the game. I'm really happy with how that paid off as well, because to give players effectively like double jump and double dodge from like extremely early on in the game, it meant that we could actually build the entire game with that in mind. And so the mobility that you can use for like exploration, but also in combat, being able to get in and out very very easily, is something that I think has worked out really well.
For sure. I can already see the TikTok and YouTube compilations of folks doing different things and playing with different weapons. It's a sandbox, a beautiful sandbox you've built to play in, for real. It's really wonderful.
Thank you.
Of course. One of the things that maybe you haven't mentioned, but you should be most proud of is kind of harkening back to the sign language thing, like the attention to detail, whether it's the quartermaster playing guitar while you're working with him, that just kind of puts you at ease in that moment of like where you are. It's like a moment of respite, to Enki sleeping on the lodestones, just curled up. Like these are really nice touches that I just think your creative team has done a great job with. Yeah. I think there's probably a lot to find in this game like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we really enjoy doing the most, is like building worlds. And so, hopefully like what we've come out with is something like really wholly unique. We've put a lot of different inspirations together in this world to create, the world of Kian that players can go in and experience. And I think it's about finding all those little areas, and so yeah, whether it is Enki like sleeping on the lodestones, or whether it's the players themselves finding a little nook or cranny or something in the world and rewarding them for going in and exploring that, or like how deep the world lore can be through some of our like side quests and things like that. There's a lot for people to go in and discover in Flintlock.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of folks are going to take that away from the game as well. Simon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ethan. It's been great to be here.
Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn is available now on Xbox, PC, and Game Pass.
Thank you, Simon and Ethan, for the Flintlock interview. The game looks really good. I cannot wait to get to it or get back to it.
Yeah.
The thing is, I was playing a whole bunch of Kinitsugami, and attack is X. But then when I would jump over to Flintlock, that's heal, and you only have like 2 healing flasks, and I just kept healing by accident. I was like, my brain cannot handle both at the same time. So
I've thrown a lot of accidental grenades in Warzone that way, switching from Apex, and I think that's why my friends stopped inviting me to play with them, because there's only so many friendly fire grenades you can throw out there before they just say, you know what, we're good.
I'm also no longer getting those invitations. Speaking of invitations, Wonder, we brought you here because you're awesome, and we wanted to hear what you had to say and what you were playing, but also because we know you and the American Red Cross are doing some really cool stuff, and as a result, you brought with us Betsy Robertson from the American Red Cross. How you doing?
I'm so happy to be here, and it's really fun to just be under the glow of the logo here. A lot of teenagers in my life who are going to be very jealous.
Oh yeah. This is a moment.
I would love to know, like, what was your reaction when Wonder came to you and said, hey, we make a game about blood plague, but we have an idea.
Yeah, well, since 2020, when we launched Juggernaut Edition, it was kind of like zombies, blood, the apocalypse, blood.
So much blood.
It all makes sense. All this blood laying around, let's do something useful with it. No, it was. We're looking for a way to get more involved with the community, to give back, to do something good, honestly. And Jen Panettone was talking about getting
involved.
Friend of the show. Yes, friend of the show. Awesome. Just, we love Jen. And she was talking about getting involved with social impact. And like afterward, I went up and said, hey, I have this idea. I want to figure this out. And from there became this amazing partnership that we've had with the American Red Cross. So
yeah, I love hearing that backstory. That's so inspiring, and we have loved the partnership so much. I think a couple of years ago when one of the collabs that happened a couple of years ago turned into 60,000 new donors, donating for the very first time. Over 800,000 units of blood collected as a result of this partnership. So we're hitting a new population.
More than we could have ever.
Amazing.
One of the first things we did was we put this vehicle that was called the Bloodmobile in the game. And we had to have a lot of conversations. Can this car hurt humans? Very, very clear, No. Zombies, yes, but they are very clearly undead. We're staying away from any sort of ethical dilemma on that.
But it's just so creative, and it's so much fun, and a great opportunity to reach new audiences, to get a message out. What I love is that in the dialogue and in the interactions, you're not just, you have a mission to accomplish. I'm talking about the current version. And there is some dialogue that happens, is that what you call it? Where you're learning things about blood along the way. You're learning about the importance of certain types.
Into like so there's new in the update that just came out this morning.
For State of Decay 2.
Yeah, for State of Decay 2. It was update 37, Light in the Dark, just came out this morning, actually. Hey. And and there's this whole new mission arc. It's actually several missions together. And you help an enclave basically with blood donors, and it's all this information about being a blood donor is sprinkled through. They really leaned into the mission of the Red Cross, why we do what we do, plus it just works. It works in the world of State of Decay 2. It is about community. It's about surviving together. You're helping each other. You're always looking for ways to, help the humanity that's alive, that is in the world. So it all makes sense together. And it's a really fun set of missions, takes you around, and there's a lot of really interesting, brand new to the game rewards. So
Very cool. So, like, just tell me, how do you bridge like what's happening in the game in State of Decay to like real life and like having people donate blood?
Well, I watched it, and then, as I said, I learned a lot. Or I think the user, the player, is going to learn a lot. Again, about blood types, about the urgency that is very, very current and relevant right now. We have a critical need for people to come in and donate blood this summer. It's typically a time when donations go down, people are traveling, sometimes traffic accidents are up, so there's that need that is elevated. And right now we're getting awareness out to people about the importance of those donations, making them recurring. We have to have a lot of blood coming in every single day to maintain and stabilize the blood supply.
So, can we talk a little bit about the Bloodmobile in the game? As I recall, this is the stats on it were pretty good.
It's actually even better now. So trunk storage is up from like 9 to 15.
That's pretty good.
It was it used to be limited time only. We've now unlocked it permanently, so you can go in and call it in. We have also in the enclaves, once you finish the mission, there's 2 new traits. I think it's EMT driver and there's blood donor, and they have great new stats. And one of them, you can call in the ambulance and the Bloodmobile almost at any time. So we've put in like a lot of incentives in the game that are themed to raise this awareness and call attention to this real life need. We're kind of, positioning it as like, hey, you're a hero in the game. Come be a hero in real life. When we talk about how it's it can be summer, it can be a little bit of a slow month for games. Mm-hmm. And that's true for blood donations as well. And it's one of the things that we, as, State of Decay 2 and Undead Labs, are trying to kind of stand in that gap and really encourage people to make a new habit, and this is the only, it still kind of is surprising to me. Like, we can't manufacture blood. You can't make it. There's no such thing as synthetic. We can grow ears, but we can't we can't make blood. It has to come from volunteers. It comes from ordinary people like all of us sitting at this table.
Yeah. So I have questions around blood donation in general. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a secret that there's a little bit of a stigma around it, or just unknowns. If you haven't done it before, people are like, I don't even know where to start. So one of my questions is like, we were sitting here talking about blood types, and I was like, I don't think I know my blood type. So that was one of my questions, like, how do you find out? And do you need to know in order to go donate blood?
And that's the most important thing. You don't. And studies have shown that about half of the population knows their blood type, and so half don't. Okay. And even that percentage is higher for Black and brown donors, potential donors, and thinking that that is a limitation to coming in. Yeah. It's absolutely not. So come in. That's one of the things that you will learn throughout the process. You do a little mini health check. You take your blood pressure, and then you go through the donation process and the recovery process. As Wonder mentioned, that takes about an hour in all.
Mm-hmm. Total, from like walking in the door to leaving, and the actual collection is maybe 10 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, that's
really
right.
quick.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's a gamified sort of element to it, where you can, on our app, track to see where your blood goes.
This is my favorite part. It like closes the loop. I'll get a notification, maybe 2 weeks later. It says, hey, your blood was needed and it was sent to this hospital in this city.
Amazing.
That's really
we had a hiker who got lost in the woods.
Yeah, right. Trying to get to the peak.
Yep.
And also, I didn't know my blood type, actually, before I went in.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason. And so I actually still forget. And I'll open the Red Cross has the blood donor app, and I'll open that and be like, oh, yeah, that's what I am.
There you are.
That's good to know. So, there's probably more basic questions that people have and want to know. Where can viewers and listeners go to find out more about this campaign and about blood donation in general?
RedCrossBlood.org is a great place to start for information, to book an appointment, to ask questions or learn about eligibility requirements. All of those sorts of things can be found in that one house.
And specific to our campaign is that link, redcrossblood.org/SOD for State of Decay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you'll have more information about just our partnership, what we're doing. We'll have some more interesting things that we're doing with Xbox. There's a giveaway that you would have a chance to, win an Xbox.
All right.
So
definitely check it out. These are exclusive opportunities just for, players and users.
Very good. Betsy, thank you so much for joining us. And we actually have one more guest. So one of these things that I've talked about quite a bit over the course of the past year on this show is my ROG Ally. This is, we actually tested it out here on the show about a year ago. And then these are the things they don't tell you. You have to give it back. It was a review unit. I had to give it back. And I found after like a day or two, I was missing it. And I went and I pre-ordered it. And since that time, this is the one that I got. And you can see a bunch of the games on here are games that we were just talking about, like Dungeons of Hinterberg and Flintlock and Tsuchiya and Kinotsugami. And
legit.
I was just on a trip and I was playing a ton of Octopath Traveler. Anyway, anything on PC Game Pass, like you can download on here, and it plays really well. Well, the team over at Asus, they're getting ready to launch the next version of that, the Asus ROG Ally X. And actually, there's a podcast that is all about that. And we have the host of that, Whitson Gordon. He spent some time telling me and everyone else about the ROG Ally X. Let's go take it away. It's always a little weird when I pitch to myself, but I insisted on doing this interview, as I talked about in the lead-in. Huge fan of the Asus ROG Ally, and so I'm bringing someone in from Asus directly to tell us all about the Ally X. Whitson Gordon, you're the Senior Manager of Marketing Content at ROG. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
And you're a fellow podcaster, right? Head of ROG Pulse on YouTube?
Yeah. So the two things that I do at ROG, or among other things, is I write a lot of the articles that you see on our site, and I do some of our live streams with our full-time streamer, Jake, including ROG Pulse. So fellow podcaster.
Right. Well, we've got the right person here, fellow podcaster. Thanks for joining the show. I've actually watched a lot of what you've been doing because as a big fan of the Ally, I've been really paying attention to what's going on with the Ally X. As we showed walking into this, I now have had hands-on. I've been playing with it for the last week to 10 days. I've been very impressed. I just want to, we'll get into it. Two things I've noticed right off the bat. The battery seems to last a really long time compared to the original one. Like we were talking about in the lead-in, I have yet to have like the pop-up saying, "Oh, time to charge," like in the times that I've been playing, and which is amazing. And also, I've noticed a lot of games are playing even smoother. So I would just love to know where the team has really spent their time focusing on the Ally X.
So, when we first released the Ally, we saw this really like fervent, passionate community pop up around it. And so we got so much feedback from the first generation unit that we kind of started going to work on an updated version with trying to get all of that feedback incorporated, right? And one of the biggest ones, like you mentioned, was battery. With these handhelds, you're on the go. You want as much battery life as you can possibly get. So our engineering team was like, okay, how can we fit a bigger battery into this? And the wizardry inside this thing is crazy how they crammed literally double the battery into this unit. But yeah, I mean, there was a ton of other stuff that went into it too. I mean, when you say games play a little bit smoother, it is using the same chip as the original Ally, but it's got a little bit more RAM. It's got faster RAM, which helps kind of eliminate some of those bottlenecks in certain games. Things like that. So it just ended up being, and because we have more battery in it, we were able to boost the wattage a little bit in some of those performance modes, which means that everything is just going to feel a little bit smoother, and you're not going to have any sort of battery anxiety while you're doing that.
Very cool. What are some of the other improvements that maybe are a little bit more subtle, a little less like obvious to someone looking from the outside that the team has focused on? Because it feels like you really did look at everything top to bottom on the device.
It does feel like that, yeah. So, I mean, honestly, as cool as the battery is, the thing that excited me the most were some of the subtle ergonomic changes. So if you just look at a picture of the Ally X, it looks pretty similar, but when you actually hold it in your hands, the grips are a little bit more curved. The triggers are bigger and your fingers just kind of slide right into place, right? It just feels really, really natural in your hands. And then we upgraded things like the joysticks have a slightly tighter springs, so they feel a little bit more similar to kind of typical controllers like Xbox controllers, things like that. The buttons are just a little bit clickier. It all kind of comes together to just feel better in your hands while you're playing all around,
I can't thank you enough, by the way, and the team for just having A, B, X, and Y exactly where I want them to be.
Yes, agreed.
Speaking of that, like what games are you finding really jump out for you as just like a great fit on the form factor? Obviously, you can play just about anything on it. For me personally, I really enjoy a lot of sort of RPGs. I think work really well. I've spent a lot of time playing. I've played dozens of hours of Diablo 4 because it's just
Yes.
really fun sitting on your sofa playing that way. Or I've actually even gone, I was on a trip with a friend who's also into Diablo and also had an ally, and we were just, sitting by the pool playing Diablo. It was kind of an amazing experience.
That's
actually.
awesome.
Very freeing. Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. I really like a lot of like single player kind of cinematic story driven games. So I play a lot of that stuff on the Ally, just like I play it on my TV. And the cool thing is I can pick up right where I left off because my cloud saves will sync and all of that. But the other thing that's fun about the Ally is because it is a portable device, right? You want a game that you can sit down and play for a couple hours, but you also want some of those games that you can kind of just pull out for 15 minutes and like mess around in. My most played game by far is probably Forza Horizon 5, because that is a game that you could play for 2 hours, or you could play it for 15 minutes, or you could say, I'm going to play it for 15 minutes. And then 2 hours later, you're like, wait, where did all the time go? Love Forza Horizon 5. But I also, games like Dead Cells really hooked me in. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder's Revenge, of course, all these on Game Pass, right? Even games like Goat Simulator 3, where it's just like, oh, I just want to like mess around for a little bit, and then, while I'm at my kid's swim lesson, and then put it away and move on.
Very good. Yeah, I've certainly been in the car during soccer practice,
yes,
getting in some gaming. Besides just the device, and something I really enjoyed as I was trying out the Ally X, and then I noticed this update came to my original Ally device, which is updates to the Armory Crate, which is like the sort of the overlay, the software that helps you launch things. And it's really cool, just like seeing, things that are on Game Pass next to things that are on Blizzard, that are things next to things that are on Steam, next to the Hoyoverse launcher, or any of the different sort of things I'm playing across all of these different sort of methodologies that you play across Windows.
Yeah, I mean, that's what really attracted me to this. Before I even knew we were making this, I was on the hunt for a Windows handheld, right? Because I have games spread out over so many different platforms. Love Game Pass. I have years of games worth in Steam, plus like retro games and GOG and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the way the Armory Crate brings all of those together is just so nice and seamless. It's got this beautiful interface, and I love that it's kind of like this one-stop shop for everything. And I am so thankful, just as an enthusiast, right? Like, obviously I'm a member of the team here, but just as someone who's really into this, I love that our team has been updating it so frequently, and bringing in new features that the community has asked for, including things that I've asked for, right? And just trying to make it more intuitive and easier to use and kind of slightly more console-like experience as we go.
Are there particular areas of the community? I know we were talking before we started here that I spent a fair amount of time on one of the Reddit subreddits that talks about handheld gaming and specifically about the Ally. Like, where does the team pay a lot of attention to in getting that feedback?
Yeah, so Reddit is a big one, like you mentioned, but I also manage our Discord server, the Republic of Gamers Discord server, and there's a big Ally community in there, and there's another Ally Discord that's popped up from the subreddit too, and so I kind of track all those and see what the kind of feedback that's coming in and synthesize it and send it to the team. But and then of course we also see a lot of stuff on YouTube, right? YouTubers, both big and small, kind of showing us how they're using the Ally and making us think like, oh, we never thought of putting that feature into Armory Crate. Let's see if we can build that in, or let's see if we can make that a little bit more seamless for people, because we're seeing how people are using it in ways that even we didn't necessarily intend.
So we're obviously really excited about the launch of the Ally X. That's available now, right? But it's not the only Ally. You've sort of a variety of devices at different price points now, right?
Yeah, we have two models of the original Ally, one with the Ryzen Z1 processor, one with the Z1 Extreme. Those are both still available to buy today at Best Buy in the US and at retailers around the world. And the Ally X is now on shelves as well. And what's cool is all three of those devices come with 3 months of Game Pass built in. You just open up the Microsoft Store, the Xbox app, and you've got 3 months that you can even stack with your existing subscription, which makes it an even better value if you're already a Game Pass subscriber. I can't take my hands off it. I'm addicted, personally.
Very good, very good. And what's the best way for people to keep up with you at work and with everything ROG?
Best way is to come join our Discord server, like I mentioned, but also to come follow us on YouTube at ROG Global. That is where we do our weekly live streams and podcast talk show stuff. If you want to keep up on everything Ally related and everything ROG related, that's the best place to do it.
All right. Whitson Gordon from ROG, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on launch. I'm not just happy to have you here because we're professionals working in the gaming space, but also because I'm a big fan, both of what you do and of what the team has created. So congratulations and thank you.
Thanks. And likewise, Jeff, thanks so much for having me today.
All right, thanks so much, Whitson Gordon. To check out Whitson's ROG Pulse podcast, head on over to @AsusROG on YouTube. Do you know what ROG stands for?
No.
It's Republic of Gamers. I'm a dual citizen of that republic. This is the ROG Ally X. I freaking love this thing. I've been testing out this review unit for about a week. You should try it out. All the games that I mentioned are on there, and it's really my favorite part about it is you download it. Actually, it comes pre-installed with the Xbox app as well as Steam and EA Play and Ubisoft. All these different portals. You just sign in and boom, you start shopping in your own closet, downloading games that you've either previously purchased or games that are in Game Pass or anything else. So like this is the only place where I get to have like the Hades 2 beta sitting, right next to
Sea of Stars.
Sea of Stars, which is plays awesome on this, as you'd imagine. I love playing RPGs on this thing.
Crazy that this went missing after the interview.
Yeah, really. they can prize it from my cold dead hands, which actually I might have just condemned myself. So you can handle this here as well for a little bit. State of Decay 2 runs great on it. I'll mention because we have one last thing that we have to unbox, and this is a thing that you might have seen on social, maybe on Xbox social, maybe on Ryan Reynolds social. We have one of the very few cheeky controllers.
Cheeky is the correct word.
This one of the very few here on the planet. This will eventually be given away to somebody. But before that,
yes.
Let's see what it looks like in real life.
Okay, I'm going to give you my water.
Please do not spill on the butt. Yeah.
It's a very special moment.
So
This box is luxurious.
Oh my God. So anticipation of Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh, open. Coming to theaters this coming weekend on July 26th. Deadpool himself has teamed up with Xbox to design a custom Xbox wireless controller that everyone will want to get their hands on, modeled after Deadpool's much discussed, perfectly rounded tush.
Yes.
All right, what's it?
America's other ass.
Okay, so we have the Deadpool Wolverine, Marvel Studios. Hey, gorgeous, it's me, Deadpool. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it's pretty cool with a metal card.
Oh, nice.
Cheeky Polaroid of Deadpool, XOXO.
Cozy,
Deadpool.
cute. Something for the fridge.
Now I know what Ryan Reynolds' handwriting looks like.
I can't.
All right. Oh,
Amazing. It's amazing.
We have unboxed a lot of controllers. They're usually face up. I've never seen one that is face down.
I was just thinking how I was going to dive into this with keeping any sort of dignity, but I don't think.
I think both hands is the way to go.
I think we got to really get in there.
Excuse me, pardon me,
So
Mr.
this
Deadpool.
This is the funnest thing I've ever done.
This is known as the cheeky controller. It channels Deadpool's buns of steel, and it's firm,
Look at
yet
that.
surprisingly comfortable grip. How's the grip feel?
Can I just tell you how naturally my hands fall on these
It's like
sheets?
it was born
Like,
to be
tell
in your
me-
hands.
Tell me why this is so.
I have a reason. I think we know why.
Okay. Well, what can you say that hasn't already been said
What I'm
about
saying is like
this
you need like a little
controller?
koozie, but they just look like, little boxers.
I want to say, like,
Amazing.
it's a pretty good replica of Ryan Reynolds' butt.
So,
Just throwing it out there.
yeah. Well, this may be the closest any of us gets to Ryan Reynolds, but we don't get to keep it because this will be given away. There's actually a custom sweepstakes, a global sweepstakes
in my
going on right now alongside other custom Xbox hardware. So what you want to do is you want to head on over to Twitter or X, whatever you prefer. Wonder, you got to get your hands on this. I want to.
You just got to know.
I'm like,
have
do
to
I
let it
have
go
to?
at some point.
Oh my God.
Always
Just
remember
real
that you were
quickly.
the first.
Yes.
Just cherish the
We need
moment.
to get this over to the Elite Controller team and just to reconsider designs.
You know?
Yeah. Here we go. Wonder. Let us know
Oh,
what you
yes.
think.
Oh, come home. Come home to mama.
Don't forget who
go
unboxed
onto-
your first little controller.
I mean, do we even need to play games with this? It's hard to say.
It is functional. It came with some batteries. There also is an
It's a
Xbox
nice weight.
Series X that goes there. It is chunky, thick, even. And of course, you don't want to forget that Deadpool and Wolverine is out in theaters July 26th. That's like tomorrow. Very much looking forward to this. Now, here's the thing.
Relax. Just relax.
It's not surprising that the Merc with a mouth was the first out the door with the butt controller, but Wolverine's wearing some pretty tight tights as well. And a couple days later, it was announced he has a cheeky Xbox controller of his own in the yellow and blue. We have some pictures of this up here, and we do like some competitions. So
the
yes,
battle of the butts.
it is. And you can pick sides on the rivalries. You want to head to the Xbox. Good positioning.
You like
this? Is
this?
like, yeah, I think you did a good
I
job
should
with
be
that.
in marketing.
Yeah, I know, right? See if these teams going to be getting jealous. Where's our butt controller?
I asked this morning. if
Pirates
we could
Booty.
Do a Pirates
Pirates
one.
controller.
Booty controller.
Yes. So the Microsoft Cheeky Sweepstakes, you want to check out Microsoft on Instagram where you can pick sides, Deadpool or Wolverine, whose Canadian booty
I can't believe we did this.
is your favorite.
Man,
I can't believe this
amazing.
exists. I can't believe we're talking about it on the pod.
Well, I also think
What
we've
a time to be
completely
alive.
derailed. So I think that pretty much, you have until August 11th. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Check out Xbox Twitter. You'll learn more. We've tried it. It's real. It's spectacular.
It's incredible. It's unfortunately not for sale because the logistics of that, I feel like, would just be...
I mean, I don't think that anyone can handle this controller.
No.
And in fact, this one is going to go back into the pile, is going to be given away. We'll clean it off nicely, I promise you. Thank you. So, why do you...
What?
I'm saying there's fingerprints. We're getting the fingerprints off of this.
Correct.
You know,
say
it's
that
going to be
well.
like new. All right.
Look at
There you go.
light catching it.
Oh, reflecting.
It's beautiful.
Bounce a quarter off of it.
Quarter not included. All right, that about wraps us up for this week. You can follow us on twitter.com/XboxWire, YouTube, and all of your favorite podcast apps. Wonder Stormbreaker, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. We will welcome you back anytime, whether there's something going on with State of Decay or not, but we know you all are very busy at work working on State of Decay 3, so I think we may have a chance to bring you back
That would be
over to this side of town. Kelly Lombardi, awesome to have you back.
Of course.
I
Happy
think
to be
you're
here.
very pleased to be here.
Yeah.
Someone please, security, make sure she does not leave with this.
There are several things that are at risk of being stolen after this.
Actually,
podcast.
the ally is gone, so I don't know
Yeah.
where that went. So, and also thanks to Betsy Robinson for the American Red Cross for joining us this week. If you have the opportunity and the ability, please donate blood. So thank you, all of you, for listening to us. We will see you next week with even more unboxings, more games to talk about. We'll see you next week.